Hello and welcome again to VW Feasts, and today we're going to cook for you chili con carne. Although we've been cooking a number of recipes where there are exact and agreed methods of cooking, this is one that no one has any agreement on how it should be. So this is our version, and feel free to criticize as you wish. Principle of a chili con carne should have meat and tomatoes. Beyond that, no one can agree. What we're going to add is some spices and herbs, and one that we quite enjoy. Although, of course, I cook it a completely different way. So, we're going to add some garlic and some onion. Chop down the onion, and the VW likes to chop it down really finely. So, first of all, take the top bottom off, cut it in half, remove those outer dry layers that aren't really going to cook well, and then just again move those dry top bits and cut down small enough that it'll go into the blender. I usually cook this with a coarser onion, again something that we still don't agree on. So both onions, and actually we're doing this with double quantities because we're doing enough to keep our freezer full for at least a few weeks, so healthier meals in the new year. Chop those down. Red onions, in my experience, don't give you quite as much tears as the white onions. Tend to have a sort of nicer flavour, so we often use red onions for a lot of things we cook. Chilies, this is where it's really down to personal taste. We're using some quite small chilies here. Often the smaller the chili, the hotter they are, and you're really going to have to decide what sort of chilies you like and how hot you like it. By cutting it down the middle, you can actually remove the seeds, and the seeds contain a lot of the heat. So if you want to make it milder, take the seeds out. One important thing after doing this step though is to make sure to wash your hands. If you go to wipe your eyes with chili still on your fingers, you're going to know about it. And for men, certainly before you go to the toilet. We then cut the chili down to smallish pieces. You don't want them in big pieces. If you have a few mouthfuls of a mild chili and then a whole chili pepper in your mouth, that's going to really spoil your day. Next thing is, a lot of people argue how to give it the richness and creaminess that you're looking for in a chili. Some people use chocolate, some people use red wine, others use tomato puree. Here the VW's using sun-dried tomatoes. They're here in a jar and an oil. Now we obviously don't want that much oil in our chilies, so she's removing them from the jar. Another reason why you need tweezers in the kitchen. So again, chop those down into a bit of a paste so they can be added later. You don't really want big chunks of sun-dried tomato. This is just meant to be improving the richness of the dish. Okay, so again, hot oil, in go those onions, and we're just going to fry them down a bit. So it's nice and translucent. We're going to start adding in some of the other flavours. So in goes chili powder and cumin. I'm a firm believer in coriander at this stage as well, but that's the VW's recipe. In goes the chili, some seasoning, salt and pepper. Give that a good stir round. Then goes the meat, and again lots of discussion and debate about what sort of meat. Here we're using a minced meat. Now we did ask for minced beef, looking a little bit pale, so it might be what you get in Germany, a sort of mixed minced beef and pork, where we're still not sure. So move that around. You want to brown the meat and break down these blobs of meat into a crumb, and that's what really you want to be cooking with. If you're cooking with coarser meat, non-minced meats, then you could leave it in bigger chunks. Get it down to the crumb, make sure it's nice and browned, you haven't got any pink bits within there. Then we start adding in, first of all, the sun-dried tomatoes. And tins of chopped tomatoes. I think we must have about 30 or 40 tins in it a day. We use them in almost every recipe. Again, don't want to waste any of that, so we need to add a little bit more water, so add the water into the tins of tomatoes, pour into each other to make sure you don't leave behind some tomatoey loveliness in the tins. As I said, I would add a puree instead of the chopped tomatoes, but it's all good. Very traditionalist suggests you should add chocolate here, not sort of normal eating chocolate, but the very bitter chocolate, as was suggested in older cooking books. As the VW adds a cinnamon stick to add a little bit more flavour as well. So mixing all that round, and then what the VW is going to do is going to leave that to cook now for quite some time. And to make sure that we don't lose any of that loveliness, she's going to use some baking parchment. Make sure there's a complete seal. Often a lot of your lids will have holes in them to let the steam escape. We don't want to reduce it quite yet. So as you can see, we've come towards the end of the cooking. Now you can reduce down to the consistency you want and add in the beans. VW ends them in a little late, so they still have a little bit of bite to them. Kidney beans coming in tins, just pour them all in. As you can see, we're cooking it with some brown rice, which we find has a nice nutty flavour that adds very well and complements a curry, a chili. So here we are, brown rice with the VW's chili con carne. Have with guacamole, sour cream, salsa, tacos, nachos, whatever you want. We're just going to put some green on it. Enjoy.